Kimodameshi. Literally translated, it means liver, will, or liver strength. A complete translation reveals its meaning to resemble a test of will or a check of one's breaking point. A courage test, if you will. Unofficially, Kimodameshi have been a rite of passage for Japanese youth since as far back as the samurai of Edo-era Japan are concerned. A common test of Kimodameshi was the Hyakumonogatari ritual, in which a group of younger samurai in their 20s would sit in a dark room in the middle of the forest. The entire place would be lit by exactly 100 candles. The word Hyakumonogatari translates to 100 stories, and that's exactly what these samurais would tell each other. 100 stories that were all ghost stories. Each time one story finished, a candle was blown out. This gradually faded the room into an inky blackness with no light source. Only the bravest of samurai remained as the stories grew more and more bizarre, creepy, and horrifying. This would show the village just who the bravest of their samurai were. And just as the tests of the past, these continue to this day. Our tests of will, fear, and psyche are still discreetly carried out by Japan's youth, just as dares, pranks, and urban exploration is done by teens and young adults internationally. But sometimes these tests go wrong. In the early 1990s, Japan's newspapers reported multiple events of these quote-unquote courage tests leading to severe injury or even death. Take, for example, the story of a group of high school boys in Fukuoka who went to a pier where they dared each other to jump from extremely high dock to the sea level below. All went well as the boys took a giant leap and dove in. Only as the sun began to rise around 4 a.m. did they find 2 of them had landed with their full bodies upon the concrete and rebar pylons at the base of the pier's columns. June 4th, 1995. The Tsubana Onsen on the northern end of Toyama Prefecture lay rotting away from neglect and abandonment. During that time, 2 19-year-old high school senior girls, who to this day have only been identified as A-san and B-san due to Japan's strict under-20 privacy laws, one, the daughter of a grocery store manager, the other, a city-employed worker, sent their family a simple text to let them know that they were headed to the dilapidated Tsubana Onsen, aka Tsubana Hot Springs, to take on their senior year Kimodameshi. Their families wished them well and told them just to be careful. The girls sent a few texts back and forth to their families, relaying their location and estimated time of arrival before they reached the abandoned inn in Hot Springs. And then, minutes after they finally did, all communication stopped. No one back home in their city of Himi panicked. At first, knowing the ruins of Tsubana Hotel were quite isolated and reception might be unreliable at times of the night and day.
Now, I know what you're thinking. First off, 19 years old and in high school? Well, actually 20-year-old is a legal adult in Japan, and yes, high school does go till the age of 19. And then on top of it, a lot of people are probably already writing in the comments, they just let their 2 young high school senior daughters go off 5 hours away from their house on a drive to an abandoned, isolated place in the middle of the woods. Yeah, you gotta understand a couple things. First of all, Japan is a million times safer than almost any of its Western counterparts. As far as a first world industrialized nation goes, it's actually incredibly safe. There's not really any gun deaths out here. You never hear about anybody getting shot. There wouldn't be anybody hunting in the woods out there. And there really just is a very low rate of crime. I cover a lot of stuff here because there's some interesting cases, but really Japan is super safe.
At first, friends were called and questioned as to if they knew if A-san or B-san had returned to town. Sadly, none of them had met them, seen them, or gotten a call from them, or even seen their car return to town. Mind you, this was a rather small countryside town too, so asking these questions even to strangers was not out of the ordinary in Japan. Finally, the fathers of A-san and B-san launched their own search with the police and multiple volunteer groups due to B-san's father having worked for the city and having connections to local search and rescue groups. The groups rotated shifts and searched for nearly 72 hours straight, all around and inside the Tsubana Onsen, as well as the grounds around it, and found not a single trace of the 2 girls. In fact, no one could even locate the car they had come in. the phones or pagers the girl had been carrying as well, or any other trace of them for that matter. A second triangulation of all communications once again placed them as last texting and calling from the squalid entrance grounds of the onsen's once pristine driveway, but no tire tracks or traces of their vehicle or the girls being there was found to this very day.
Now, some of you may say, well, isn't it at least dangerous to climb through a place where the flooring may give way, or a dilapidated building that may just give out underneath you? Yes, if that had been something that they had seen happen there, if they had had any kind of sign that that had happened, yes, I agree, but actually even checking the structural integrity of the place after they went searching for the two girls who went missing, there didn't seem to, number one, be any holes in the floor that someone had fallen through, so that seemed as though it was not an answer. On top of that, it just didn't seem like the floor was, I guess, rotted out enough, or I guess dilapidated enough to just give out underneath anybody walking on the second floor of this building. The thing that really puzzles everybody is that there was nothing. There was no sign of any kind of even entrance into the building that they had been there. There weren't any personal items left behind. There weren't any footsteps. Dogs couldn't track them there. They brought out bloodhounds and they couldn't track them there. They brought out tracking experts for both vehicles and people and they couldn't find anything out there. So yeah, it was the most puzzling aspect of everything. Now, on top of that, you gotta realize that this is kind of a rite of passage. This is like asking somebody not to do something they would traditionally do no matter what in Japan. So if you have your senior field trip and you go to Disney World, if you said, well, maybe a little bit dangerous, I mean, Disney World at night, come on. But that would be the same thing as if you said to these people, don't do the Kimodameshi and just avoid that so you can get away from danger. They would probably say the same thing, like, why would I take that out of the tradition of my family, my family's family, and my kids as well? It's a tradition that's been through families for ages here in Japan. It's not always as extreme as going into an abandoned building or jumping off a very high pier and someone falling onto the rocks, but it's part of being a kid and teenager and young adult in Japan, so much so that some schools actually go out of their way to set up places they know will be a little bit safer. Now, this hadn't occurred at this time yet because there hadn't been as many accidents, but as they did occur, now it is becoming more and more common for schools to even set up places that they can suggest that the kids go so that they can check them ahead of time to make sure that they're safe to go to.
Sadly, our story ends with A-san and B-san never being found. Not only that, absolutely no trace of them, their vehicle, or personal belongings were ever found. To this day, the entire case remains a mystery, and the Tsubana Onsen remains standing. Government officials have tried to shut it down multiple times or had it completely torn down, but it would cost over 1.2 million yen. And so, Tsubana Onsen remains as the only lasting memory of A-san and B-san and their delve into a Kimodameshi, the test of fear. Hey guys, Unrested here. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed what you saw today. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. This is a special type of dark side video that I'll be doing now, which kind of melds the old Osoroshi scary videos and horror videos into true crime. This entire case is a completely real true crime case that happened in Japan, and there's many, many more strange ones like this. If you enjoyed what you saw here today, please let me know in the comments below, or at least give me a like if you could. Until next time, I'm Unrested with the true crime from Japan you requested.